So why learn Irish myth? What relevance does it have for you today?
Well, one of the things is that you're starting with the richest store of myth of any country north of the Alps. And what you're tapping into is an oral culture. So what you're learning about is what an extraordinary oral culture contained, because in an oral culture, you have to encapsulate your wisdom in stories. But actually, there's something else, which is in the process of learning about Irish myth. It's actually a great way of learning things about yourself and about your culture. And what you would also be tapping into, and this is one important reason, is a wisdom tradition, because in an oral culture, the people did not have recourse to writing. And so what they did is they encoded their wisdom in story form, because that's the best way to memorize it and it's the best way to pass it on.
So what is in this course?
Well, what it is a compendium of stories, or what might be described as a safari of stories. And what are these stories? They're myths. And one thing you might say is, well, in common usage, the term myth means a lie. So why would I spend my time on engaging with a compendium of lies? Well, the thing about them is these stories may not be true, but they sure are useful. And one of the reasons they're useful is that they're actually speaking about something of enormous interest to most people, which is not the objective world. They're speaking about the internal, subjective world. So if you want to explore, because they don't work in a didactic way, if you want to explore through a dialogue with these stories, the enormously interesting subject of subjective life, then that's what comes out of a program like this.
And so how does the program actually work? How do the sessions look?
The thing that they always begin with and that keeps us honest is stories. It's the reason to engage with these is not, as I said before, because it's a history lesson or, understanding Iron Age Irish culture. No, it's really, particularly listening to them in a group, is stories are the material. Stories are what it's all about. And I think that's another very important thing, is that the analysis and interpretation of what these stories mean are, yours as a participant or the group's, and not here's some expert that not only tell you a story, they'll tell you what it means. No, sir, that's not what we do. And one of the things that's absolutely fascinating is these stories work at it's called multivalent, multiple levels. And it's a brilliant way of looking at what's going on in modernity, in a way, a cultural mirror.
And who was the course for?
Well, there's a great story of a couple of noblemen who go to meet the great Irish figure Cuilche MacRonan, and these two young noblemen's sons want to join the Fenian. And Cuilche says there are two types of people. There's one type that are into valuable things, goods, herds, money, and there are another type that are into cliffs, the natural world, speckled salmon, nuts. And what Cuilche says is that joining the Fianna tends to be about, is always about the latter category. And people that are drawn to myth tend to be in the latter category. Another reason is that you can be safe, secure, and have everything content, a happy family, a secure job, but there might be a kind of niggling feeling that all's not well. And if you're comfortable with a kind of journey into the unknown. In the European myth tradition, it's the journey into the forest. And in the Irish myth tradition, it's a journey out onto the sea. And essentially what it is being willing to travel where there are no paths. In a way, what myth tends to be is a call to adventure, a call to an adventure. And if having heard these few words, you feel, well, I don't really know what he's talking about, but it seems intriguing. And I wouldn't mind, there's a sort of voice in my head that says, give this a go. There might be something in this.